The vast emptiness of space lit up with a bright flash as three sleek vessels emerged from faster-than-light travel near the edge of the Sol system. Their hulls gleamed with a pearl-white finish that seemed to drink in starlight, a signature mark of Galactic Council ships. Inside the lead vessel, First Observer Tom moved his four-fingered hand across the scanning console, his gray eyes widening at the readings. "Hi, Speaker, we have confirmed findings. The system contains 9 planets, with the third one showing clear signs of civilization," Tom reported, his translator working perfectly to convert his natural clicking speech into standard galactic basic. High Speaker Marcus rose from his command chair, his tall blue-skinned frame casting a shadow across the bridge. After 10,000 years of peaceful expansion, the Council had perfected the art of first contact. They had uplifted hundreds of species, guiding them into the galactic community with patience and wisdom. "Show me their development level," Marcus ordered, expecting to see the usual signs of a pre-FTL civilization. The data that appeared on the main screen made him pause. Artificial satellites surrounded the blue planet. Space stations hung in orbit like metal islands in the sky. But what caught Marcus's attention were the energy readings. They were off the charts for a newly discovered species. "Interesting," he muttered. "They've achieved basic spaceflight much earlier than most species. Send the standard greeting package." The Council ships moved closer to Earth, broadcasting peace signals on all frequencies. They expected the usual response: excitement, fear, or confusion. Instead, they received a perfectly formatted reply in Galactic Standard. "This is Admiral James Walker of the United Earth Fleet. Welcome to Sol System. We've been expecting visitors for some time." The bridge crew exchanged surprised looks. No newly discovered species had ever responded so professionally. Marcus leaned forward in his chair. "United Earth Fleet," he whispered to himself. Most species didn't even think about forming space navies until centuries after joining the Council. "Admiral Walker," Marcus responded, "we are honored by your greeting. The Galactic Council wishes to open diplomatic relations with your species. Would you accept a meeting on your orbital station?" "We would be delighted," Walker replied. "Please follow our guidance beacon to Space Station Freedom." As the Council ships approached the station, they passed something that made Tom's scanning equipment buzz with alarm. Hidden in the shadow of Earth's moon was a massive structure, a shipyard. The facility stretched for kilometers, its scaffold-like framework holding various vessels in different stages of construction. Marcus felt a slight tremor in his lower arm, an instinctive reaction his species showed when confronted with the unexpected. These humans weren't just space-capable. They were building an armada. Space Station Freedom came into view, and its size impressed even the well-traveled Council members. The station's rotating rings provided artificial gravity, while its central spine housed what appeared to be defensive installations, another unusual sight for a newly discovered civilization. The Council delegation docked their ships and prepared to meet humanity's representatives. As they walked through the station's corridors, Marcus noted the efficiency of everything around them. The station didn't have the usual marks of a young species' first attempts at space construction. This place was built by people who knew exactly what they were doing. Admiral Walker met them in a large conference room with a view of Earth below. He stood tall in his dark blue uniform, medals indicating some sort of military achievements adorning his chest. Behind him stood other human officers, their posture speaking of discipline and confidence. "High Speaker Marcus," Walker said with a smile, "Earth has been monitoring Council communications for the past decade. We've learned your language, studied your customs, and prepared for this day. We look forward to discussing Earth's entry into the galactic community." Marcus felt the tremor in his arm again. In all his years of first contact, he had never encountered a species that had already been watching them. As he looked at the calm, prepared faces of the humans before him, he realized this would not be a typical uplift mission. The humans weren't just ready for the galaxy, they had been planning for it. And something about their preparation, about their military precision and hidden shipyards, made Marcus wonder if the Council had finally found something they weren't prepared for themselves. 2 days after first contact, High Speaker Marcus stood before the main window of Space Station Freedom, watching Earth's clouds swirl below. Behind him, First Observer Tom reviewed data from their standard evaluation protocols, but nothing about this assessment was standard. High Speaker, these readings can't be right, Tom said, his gray fingers tapping nervously on his datapad. Their power generation levels are beyond anything we've seen from a new civilization. And their shield technology. He trailed off, rechecking his numbers for the 10th time. Marcus turned away from the window. The room they'd been given was comfortable but practical, like everything else they'd seen of human engineering. What about their shields, Observer? They're not using crystalline matrices like the rest of the galaxy. They've developed some kind of quantum field technology. It's completely different from our approach. Tom's voice carried a note of worry that Marcus hadn't heard in decades of service together. The door slid open, and Admiral Walker entered with 2 other officers. The humans had a way of moving that reminded Marcus of predator species. Efficient, controlled, always aware of their surroundings. High Speaker, Walker said with a polite nod, I trust your assessment is going well. Marcus forced his diplomatic training to the surface. Indeed, Admiral. Though I must admit, we have some concerns. Your military presence in space is unusual for a species at your development stage. Walker smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. The Council believes in peaceful expansion. We believe in being prepared. Space is vast and unknown. Humanity decided long ago that we wouldn't venture into it defenseless. The Council has maintained peace for 10,000 years, Marcus explained. We have protocols, limitations on military technology that all member species follow. These protocols have prevented war and fostered cooperation. One of Walker's officers, a woman with commander ranks, stepped forward. With respect, High Speaker, peace through limitation is still limitation. Earth studied your transmissions. Your weapons technology hasn't advanced in over 2,000 years. Marcus felt that now familiar tremor in his arm. The humans had not only been watching, but analyzing Council military capabilities. The Council would need to inspect your defensive systems before considering Earth's membership, he said carefully. Walker exchanged looks with his officers. We anticipated this request. We're prepared to show you one of our medium-class vessels tomorrow. Consider it a gesture of good faith. That night, Marcus sent an encrypted message to the Council's Military Advisory Board. Something about Earth's calm confidence made him uneasy. Most species they encountered were either too primitive to worry about or too advanced to hide from. Humanity seemed to exist in a strange space between, advanced enough to be concerning, but developing along paths the Council had never seen. The next morning, the Council delegation boarded a human shuttle. As they flew away from the space station, Marcus noticed more details about Earth's orbital defenses. Satellites that had appeared civilian at first glance carried hidden weapon ports. Asteroids that seemed natural were actually camouflage monitoring stations. How long has Earth been preparing for alien contact? Marcus asked Walker during the flight. Since we first looked up at the stars, Walker replied. Humanity has always known we weren't alone. We decided centuries ago that when we met our cosmic neighbors, we would do so from a position of strength. The shuttle cleared Earth's orbital space, and there, floating against the black of space, was their destination. Several Council members gasped. Even Marcus felt his professional composure slip. The human vessel was massive, easily 3 times the size of the Council's largest warships. Its dark hull seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, broken only by lines of soft blue energy pulsing along its length. What looked like weapon emplacements dotted its surface, but their design was unlike anything in the Council's database. High Speaker Marcus, Walker said with quiet pride. Welcome aboard the UES Thunderchild. She's one of our newer Perseus-class battleships, though only a medium-weight vessel by our standards. As their shuttle approached the docking bay, Marcus realized why his instincts had been screaming warning since their arrival. Humanity hadn't just prepared for first contact, they had prepared for war. And based on what he was seeing, They had prepared very, very well. The internal tour of the UES Thunderchild left the council delegation in stunned silence. High Speaker Marcus watched as First Observer Tom scanned each section of the ship, his gray hands shaking slightly as he recorded the readings. "This can't be possible," Tom whispered, staring at his scanning device. "Their reactor core. It's not using antimatter containment like our ships. They're somehow harnessing dark matter itself." Admiral Walker led them through another massive corridor. The ship's interior was a maze of reinforced passages and armored bulkheads. Unlike the elegant, open designs of council vessels, every inch of the Thunderchild was built for survival. "The dark matter drive was one of our early breakthroughs," Walker explained casually, as if discussing the weather. "Conventional fusion and antimatter engines didn't meet our requirements for deep space combat operations." Marcus stopped walking. "Combat operations? The Council hasn't seen actual combat in over 2,000 years." Walker turned to face the delegation, his expression serious. "Yes, we know. We also know why. Your weapons are designed for precision strikes, single hits to disable key systems. Your entire military doctrine is based on the assumption that no one would ever build ships meant to survive prolonged battle." The delegation entered the main bridge, and Marcus felt his breath catch. Instead of the standard command podium used in council ships, the Thunderchild's bridge was a hardened command center. Multiple layers of backup systems were visible everywhere. Crew members sat at reinforced stations, each protected by individual shield generators. "This isn't just a ship," Marcus realized aloud. "It's a fortress." "Correct," Walker said. "Council ships are built to prevent war through shows of force. Our ships are built to win wars." He gestured to a large tactical display. "Would you like to see our combat capabilities?" Tom stepped forward, his scanner still working. "High Speaker, their weapon systems. They're not using standard particle beams or plasma torpedoes. These are something completely different." Walker nodded to one of his bridge officers. The tactical display came alive, showing a simulation of the Thunderchild in action. The council members watched in horror as the ship demonstrated weapons they had never imagined possible. "Quantum-locked armor," Walker explained as the display showed the ship absorbing hits that would have vaporized council vessels. "Graviton lance emitters, dark matter pulse cannons, multiphasic shield arrays. And this is just what we're willing to show you." Marcus felt the tremor in his arm growing stronger. How many of these ships does Earth possess?" "The Perseus class. We currently have 15 in active service, with 10 more under construction." Walker paused, letting that sink in. "But they're just our medium-weight vessels. Would you like to see the specifications of our heavy battleships?" The silence that followed was deafening. Tom's scanner finally gave up. Smoking slightly from trying to analyze technology, couldn't understand. One of the council scientists in the delegation had to sit down, overwhelmed by the implications. "Admiral," Marcus said carefully, "you must understand our position. The Council maintains peace through careful balance. These ships, they would destabilize everything we've built." Walker's expression softened slightly. "We understand your concern, High Speaker. But Earth has watched the galaxy for a long time. We've seen how the Council maintains peace, by making sure no one has the ability to wage war effectively. But that's not peace. That's limitation." He walked to the tactical display, bringing up a map of known space. "The galaxy is vast, and much of it remains unexplored. The Council's approach assumes that every species you'll meet will play by your rules. Humanity chose a different path. We decided that true peace comes from being strong enough to defend it." Marcus looked around the bridge again, seeing it with new eyes. Every panel, every station, every backup system represented thousands of years of Council assumptions being proven wrong. Humanity hadn't just developed different technology. They had developed technology specifically designed to counter everything the Council relied on. "There's more, isn't there?" Marcus asked quietly. Walker nodded. "Much more. The Thunderchild is impressive, but she's just the beginning. The question now is, Will the Council adapt to this new reality, or will you try to force humanity to follow your limitations? As Marcus stared at the tactical display, watching simulated Council ships fall to the Thunderchild's impossible weapons, he realized the galaxy would never be the same again. The emergency meeting chamber aboard the Council flagship hummed with tense energy. High Speaker Marcus stood before the holographic displays showing the full Council leadership, his report on Earth's capabilities causing visible distress among the gathered representatives. "They have how many ships?" asked Council Member Reed, his tentacles twisting with anxiety. 15 Perseus-class battleships in active service, Marcus repeated. But that's not what concerns me most. The humans have developed technologies we thought impossible. Their entire military philosophy is different from anything we've encountered. First Observer Tom stepped forward, displaying the data they had gathered from the Thunderchild. Their ships don't just surpass our technology. They seem specifically designed to counter it. It's as if they studied our weaknesses and built their entire fleet to exploit them. The chamber erupted in worried discussions. Council Member Reed's voice cut through the noise. "Then we must act now. Issue the standard ultimatum. They must disarm to join the Council." Marcus felt a deep weariness settle over him. "I don't think you understand. The humans aren't asking for permission to join. They're deciding whether to allow us to be their allies." The room fell silent. On thousands of worlds, species had grown up looking to the Council for guidance. Humanity had grown up looking to the stars and building weapons. A signal chimed, indicating an incoming transmission from Earth. Admiral Walker's face appeared on the main screen, calm and professional as always. "High Speaker Marcus," Walker nodded in greeting. "I understand the Council is discussing Earth's military capabilities. To help inform your discussion, I've been authorized to share our full fleet specifications." Marcus felt that familiar tremor in his arm. "Admiral, the Council has already seen." "You've seen one medium-class ship," Walker interrupted gently. "Let me show you what else humanity has prepared." The display changed, showing ships that made the Thunderchild look small. Massive vessels with weapons that defied Council understanding. Stealth ships with hulls that bent light itself. Carriers that could deploy swarms of automated fighters. Each design represented a different approach to space warfare, each built to excel in its role. "Our heavy battleships, like the UES Titan, carry enough firepower to level continents," Walker explained, as casual as if discussing cargo manifests. "Our stealth frigates can slip past any known detection system. Our carrier groups can engage targets across entire systems." Council Member Reed's tentacles had stopped moving entirely. This is impossible. No species develops military technology this advanced without going through proper Council channels." "That was your first mistake," Walker replied. "You assumed everyone would follow your path. Humanity chose to be ready for anything, including the possibility that the Council wouldn't be friendly." Marcus understood then. "You've been watching us for decades, learning our capabilities, our limitations, preparing for either friendship or war." Walker nodded. "We hoped for friendship. We prepared for war. It's the human way." "And now," asked Marcus, "what do you want from the Council?" "Want?" Walker smiled slightly. "We don't want anything from the Council. We're willing to work with you, to share some of our technological advances, to help protect peaceful species. But we won't disarm. We won't limit ourselves. And we won't pretend to be less than we are." The Council chamber was silent again. Thousands of years of assumptions about military development, about how species should advance, about the very nature of galactic peace, all challenged by one world that had chosen a different path. "There are other species out there," Walker continued, "beyond your explored space, species that might not share your peaceful philosophy. Humanity stands ready to face those threats. The question is, will the Council stand with us, or cling to limitations that may one day prove fatal?" Marcus looked at his fellow Council members, seeing the fear in their eyes. But he also saw something else, a growing realization that perhaps their perfect system wasn't so perfect after all. "Admiral Walker," Marcus said carefully, "the Council would like to propose a joint military exercise to better understand your capabilities and perhaps to learn." Walker's smile widened slightly. "We accept. Shall we show you what the Thunderchild can really do?" As the transmission ended, Marcus realized that this wasn't just a first contact situation anymore. This was the beginning of a new era in galactic history, one where humanity's readiness for war might just be the key to maintaining true peace. The vast emptiness of space near Jupiter's orbit became the stage for what would become the most talked-about military exercise in Council history. 30 ships of the Council's 4th Defense Fleet hung in perfect formation, their pearl-white hulls gleaming in the distant sunlight. Against them floated a single dark shape, the UES Thunderchild. First Observer Tom stood at his station aboard the Council command ship, watching the human vessel with a mixture of fear and fascination. "They're really going through with this. One ship against our entire defense fleet." High Speaker Marcus nodded slowly. "Admiral Walker seems very confident, perhaps too confident." The communications channel crackled to life. "This is Admiral Walker. The Thunderchild is ready to begin the exercise. Council fleet, you may attack at your discretion. All weapons will be set to training mode, but otherwise, treat this as a real combat situation." Marcus watched as Council member Reed, commanding the 4th Fleet, arranged his ships into their standard attack pattern. It was a formation that had deterred aggression for thousands of years, a perfect blend of overlapping fields of fire and defensive positions. "Begin the exercise," Reed commanded. What happened next would change galactic military doctrine forever. The Thunderchild didn't move to evade. Instead, it accelerated directly toward the center of the Council formation. Energy readings from the human ship spiked in ways Tom's instruments couldn't properly measure. "They're going to be caught in our crossfire," Reed said with satisfaction, "even with their advanced shields." The words died in his throat as 30 precision-guided plasma torpedoes passed harmlessly through the space where the Thunderchild had been. The human ship had somehow shifted, leaving only a ghost image behind. "Quantum displacement drive," Walker's voice came through the channel, sounding almost apologetic. "You're not actually fighting where we are." Before the Council fleet could regroup, the real Thunderchild appeared behind their formation. Its dark matter pulse cannons fired, each shot precisely calculated. Ship after ship reported shield failures, weapon systems going dark, engines shutting down. "Impossible," Reed whispered. "Those shots, they're targeting systems we thought couldn't be targeted. Shield frequencies that should be random." The Thunderchild moved again, its maneuvers defying traditional space combat logic. It didn't try to maintain distance or seek optimal firing positions. Instead, it drove straight into the heart of the Council formation, its quantum-locked armor shrugging off hits that should have vaporized it. "You see," Walker explained as another group of Council ships went dark, "we studied how you fight. You rely on precision strikes, on hitting vital systems with single shots. But what happens when you face a ship designed to take those hits? A ship that can't be disabled by targeting its critical systems, because every system has 3 backups." Within 10 minutes, 25 Council ships had been destroyed or disabled. The remaining 5 tried to retreat, executing emergency FTL jumps. But even that proved futile. "Dark matter wake disruptors," Walker noted as the Council ships found their FTL drives refusing to engage. "Can't have targets just running away, can we?" The exercise ended with all 30 Council ships defeated. The Thunderchild hung in space, its hull unmarked, its systems showing minimal power usage. It hadn't even needed to use most of its weapons. In the stunned silence that followed, Marcus reviewed the battle data. The humans hadn't just won. They had revolutionized space combat. Every tactic, every technology the Council had relied on for millennia had been countered, not through brute force, but through innovative thinking and thorough preparation. "Admiral Walker," Marcus said finally, I believe you've made your point. Not quite, Walker replied. The Thunderchild it is. As I mentioned, a medium-class vessel. She was holding back significantly, and she's not our most advanced ship. This demonstration wasn't about showing off, High Speaker. It was about making something very clear. The old ways of maintaining peace through limitation are over. As Marcus watched the Thunderchild power down its combat systems, he realized the truth. Humanity hadn't built these ships for conquest or aggression. They had built them because they understood something the Council had forgotten. True peace doesn't come from making war impossible, but from being so well prepared for it that no one dares to start one. The galaxy would never be the same again, and perhaps that was exactly what it needed. The Council's emergency chamber was packed with representatives from all 300 member species. The demonstration by the Thunderchild had sent shockwaves through the galactic community. Now, they gathered to decide how to handle the unprecedented situation Earth presented. High Speaker Marcus stood at the central platform, his blue skin pale under the harsh lights. The room buzzed with worried conversations in 100 different languages. Council member Reed's tentacles waved in agitation as he addressed the gathering. We must act now, before the humans expand further. Their technology, their ships, they're too dangerous to be allowed to roam free. And how exactly do you propose to stop them? First Observer Tom asked quietly. You saw what one of their medium ships did to our fleet. They have dozens more, including vessels far more powerful than the Thunderchild. The chamber erupted in heated debate. Some council members demanded immediate military action. Others suggested trying to isolate Earth diplomatically. A few even proposed surrendering council authority to Earth entirely. Then, from the back of the chamber, a voice cut through the chaos. You are all missing the point. The crowd parted to reveal Council Elder John, his ancient form supported by a hover chair. In 5,000 years of service, he had spoken at only 3 emergency sessions. Everyone fell silent. I have spent my life studying the histories that came before the Council, Elder John said, his voice carrying clearly despite its age. There are warnings, buried in ancient texts, about species like the humans. The old ones called them warrior species, civilizations that developed along different paths than most. He guided his hover chair to the center of the chamber. But you're all misunderstanding what that means. The humans aren't just warriors. Look at what they've accomplished. They didn't just build better weapons. They revolutionized physics itself. They didn't just create stronger ships. They reimagined what ships could be. Marcus stepped forward. What are you suggesting, Elder? I'm suggesting that we've become stagnant, Elder John replied. For 10,000 years, we've enforced peace through limitation. We've told species, you can advance this far and no further. But the humans, they show us there are other paths. He activated a holographic display, showing the Thunderchild's battle with the Council fleet. Look at how they think. They didn't just develop better technology. They developed completely different technology. They saw problems we never even considered and found solutions we never imagined possible. The chamber was silent now, all eyes fixed on the elderly council member. The humans didn't build these ships because they want war, Elder John continued. They built them because they refused to accept limitations. They refused to stop asking, what if? They refused to be satisfied with good enough. He turned to face the gathered representatives. The question isn't how do we stop them. The question is, how much could we learn from them? Council member Reed's tentacles drooped. Are you suggesting we simply accept their military superiority? I'm suggesting we recognize an opportunity, Elder John replied. For 10,000 years, we've maintained peace through restriction. Perhaps it's time to try something new. Perhaps true peace comes not from limiting advancement, but from encouraging it in all directions. Marcus felt the wisdom in those words. He thought about Earth's ships, about their incredible technological achievements, about their different way of thinking. You're right, he said finally. The humans don't want to conquer us. They want to protect themselves. And by extension, they could protect others. Elder John nodded. Exactly. Instead of trying to force them to follow our old ways, perhaps we should adapt. Learn from them. Work with them. The galaxy is vast, and we don't know what lies in the unexplored regions. Having a strong defender might not be such a bad thing. The chamber grew quiet as the implications sank in. 10,000 years of tradition and policy hung in the balance. Finally, Marcus spoke again. I propose a vote, not on whether to accept Earth into the Council, but on whether the Council should accept a new role for itself. One where we don't just maintain peace through restriction, but foster progress through cooperation. As the voting began, Marcus realized that humanity hadn't just changed military doctrine. They had shown the galaxy a completely new way of thinking. And perhaps that was exactly what everyone needed. 1 month after the historic Council vote, the UES Thunderchild floated beside the Council's Grand Assembly Station. This time, it wasn't alone. Ships from all 300 member species gathered to witness something unprecedented: the signing of the new Galactic Defense Treaty. Admiral Walker stood at the ceremony podium, his dress uniform gleaming under the lights. Beside him, High Speaker Marcus prepared to address the largest gathering of species in Council history. For 10,000 years, Marcus began, we believed peace came from limitation. We were wrong. The humans showed us that true peace comes from strength, innovation, and the courage to think differently. The massive chamber was filled with representatives from across the galaxy. Even Council member Reed, who had once feared Earth's power, now sat in the front row, his tentacles moving with excitement rather than anxiety. Today, Marcus continued, we don't just welcome Earth into the Council. We welcome a new way of thinking. Earth will form the foundation of the new Galactic Defense Force. Their knowledge, their technology, and most importantly, their unique perspective will help protect all peaceful species. Admiral Walker stepped forward. Earth accepts this responsibility, but with conditions. We will share our defensive technologies, our tactical knowledge, and our protection. But we will not enforce limitations on others. Each species must be free to develop along its own path. First Observer Tom, now promoted to Defense Coordinator, activated the main display. It showed the first joint project between Earth and Council scientists, a new class of ships that combined human innovation with Council efficiency. Already, Walker explained, we see the benefits of cooperation. Council engineers have helped us improve our power systems by 30%. In return, we've helped them develop shield technologies they thought impossible. This is just the beginning. Elder John's hover chair moved forward. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Council is growing again. Not just in size, but in wisdom. We've learned that there isn't just one path to peace. The display changed to show the new defense plans. Earth ships would help patrol Council space, not as conquerors but as guardians. More importantly, they would train other species, helping them develop their own unique approaches to space technology. Some of you may still fear change. Walker addressed the gathering. That's natural. But consider this. In 1 month of cooperation, we've made more technological progress than in the previous 100 years of limitation. Imagine what we can achieve in a year, or a century. Marcus raised his hand, and the new Galactic Defense Force flag unfurled, a combination of Council elegance and Earth's practical design. Let this day be remembered not as the end of the old Council, but as the beginning of something greater. A galaxy where peace is protected not through restriction, but through strength, wisdom, and unity. The chamber erupted in applause. Species that had once competed now saw the possibility of true cooperation. Civilizations that had feared advancement now looked to the future with hope. Later, as the ceremony ended, Walker and Marcus stood at a viewing window, watching ships from across the galaxy moving in harmony. Did you ever imagine this outcome when you first entered our system? Walker asked. Marcus felt that old tremor in his arm, but now it was from excitement rather than fear. Never. We came expecting to find another species to guide. Instead, we found teachers. Not teachers, Walker corrected. Partners. That's what humanity has always wanted. Equals to stand with, not subjects to rule over. A group of young officers from various species walked past, heading to their first training session on the Thunderchild. Their excited chatter mixed languages from across the galaxy, all discussing new possibilities, new ideas, new ways of thinking. "Look at them," Elder John said, joining them at the window. "They're not afraid of power anymore. They're learning to respect it, to use it wisely. That's the real victory here." As the first rays of the station's local star painted the assembled ships in golden light, Marcus realized the truth. When they first saw Earth's battleship, the Council had indeed lost hope in their old, limiting ways, but they had gained something far more valuable. Hope in a future where strength and wisdom could coexist, where different paths could lead to the same peaceful goal. The galaxy had changed forever, and it had changed for the better.